coming out so early and struggling with the parking and just getting here. Welcome to the SFBAC NATS Fall Workshop. My name is Katya Romer. I'd like to introduce Audrey Howitt. She's out in the front, sorry. Audrey Howitt is my co-VP of programs for our NATS chapter. Thank you for joining us today, and for some of you on Sunday as well. We're pleased to be able to bring you this wonderful workshop on contemporary vocal styles, presented by one of America's foremost singing and speaking experts, Lisa Popeil. I'd like to introduce a couple board members who I think are here today. Is Katie Tupper here? No. Teresa Cardinale, please stand. Joyce Prico, just so you know who some of our board members are. Okay, she's here, but she's not standing. And I think that's it for that. Just a reminder that we will be videotaping today. So you've all, by signing up, given your consent to appearing on that video. A few logistics, please silence your devices. Take a moment to find the exits, that's pretty obvious. The restrooms, there are some restrooms right outside this door on the right, men's and women's. And there are more restrooms, there's another restroom just down this front hall on the right. And there are more restrooms upstairs. There's 2 more floors up. And also, we'll be taking a break from 3 to 3:15. Excuse me, from 10:30 to 10:45, and 3 to 3:15. And lunch is from 12 to 1:30. It's okay to do audio recording, not video, audio. And I think the meters around here are 2-hour limit. And I believe that if you put more money in after 2 hours, you might find that you get a ticket. So there is a pay lot on Franklin and Oak near the conservatory, just up here on the right, on Franklin. And the Performing Arts Garage will open at 9:30 a.m. And that's up on Grove Street. Grove and Franklin? Okay. And I'd just like to say a few words about Lisa Popeil. We are in for a treat today. Lisa has an international reputation as an innovator in the technique and pedagogy of vocals, in the technique and pedagogy of vocal styles. She holds a master's degree in voice from the California Institute of the Arts and has taught professionally for over 40 years. Creator of the VoiceWorks method and the Total Singer instructional DVD, Lisa brings her enthusiasm and long experience to the training of singers around the world. Lisa is located in Sherman Oaks, California. Lisa's experience in instant vocal improvement, song choice, audition, performance prep, and maintenance of vocal health keeps her in demand with celebrity clients and as a resource for actors, managers, directors, and record producers. She presents workshops and research papers at prestigious voice conferences around the world as an authority on belting and commercial vocal styles. Lisa is a member of NATS. Yay! We are so lucky to have her with us today. Before we bring Lisa up, our NATS chapter president, Victoria Rapinan, would like to say a few words.
Thank you. For those of you that know me, you know I can talk for a long time, so I have to make everything succeed. We're so honored to have Lisa Popeil here today. We had her, she gave a presentation for our chapter about 15 years ago, and that was when I was first introduced to her. A lot of us here come from a classical background, and you've probably been taught that if you could sing classical, you could sing anything. That's what I was taught. One of my teachers said to me, honey, if you can sing these exercises, you can sing any old darn thing at all. So I said, okay. So I learned the exercises, and then I went to a karaoke party, and these are all like people that had never studied voice, and they sounded great. And I got up feeling a little smug and, overly confident, and I started singing, and it was like, woo, it was awful. And I was so embarrassed when I thought that I could sing. So I really got on a quest to study what I call pop singing, all different styles. And also having been a voice teacher for almost 25 years, I know my students want to sing pop. If they're high school students and they're singing in musical theater, it's all pop, belt style, and I wanted to be able to help them. And I wanted to know that I could help them so that they wouldn't go out and ruin their voices. Yet, I tried it, and I tried a lot of different teachers over, say, the last 8 years, and I tried all different techniques. Some say, oh, make the vowel brighter. Some say make it forward. Some say make it brassy. Just needs to be a little bit more nasal, keep the larynx speech level, or just yells, protected yelling. And I tried all that, and it still didn't sound right. Plus, I would get a sore throat and vocal fatigue. Then other people told me, well, you better watch out because belting's not healthy, and it will ruin your voice, and it will ruin your classical voice. Well, I still kept trying, and then I finally started working closely with Lisa 2 years ago. I did her levels 1 and 2 VoiceWorks training, and I do scratch lessons with her. And now I actually think, even though I'm not super great, I sound decent in singing pop. Okay, what Lisa teaches, which is so different from any other teacher I've learned, she teaches very specific tools. It's not general, it's very specific, and a lot of the tools work right away, and they're easy to understand, and they're easy to teach. Also, Lisa can sing in all styles, and she teaches in all styles, and she sounds good in all of them. She can sing classical, belt, pop, country, blues, jazz, everything, and she sounds great, and to me that's really important. Let's see what else. The results are, I think, in many ways, making immediate improvement. So, without any further ado, let's have Lisa Popeil.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Victoria. That was an amazing introduction. And thank you, Katya and Audrey, for all your support and your hard work making this day happen. I'm really happy to be here and to share with you through the day things that are going to make singing for you, and if you're a teacher, your students, more fun. Where if you're a teacher, you become the go-to person in your area, because why should a student go anywhere else? I started classical voice when I was 7 years old. I actually started voice when I was 6. I lived in Chicago, and I went to a school that taught acting and dance and singing. It was musical theater. And I remember the one instruction I was given, which was just louder. Louder, Lisa, louder. So by the time I was 7, I think I had pre-nodules. And my mother was desperate. My mother, I don't come from a musical family, and they didn't know where to take me. And there was a lady at my school who did not classical, German, had been teaching since 1944. I'm sure she's still teaching today. She's an amazing woman, Gisela Göttling, a NATS member in Chicago. And she did not take children under the age of 14, which was very common. We're going back now around 1962. How could that be? And my mother just said, I don't know what else to do. Am I just going to take her to another crappy voice teacher and have her ruin her voice? So Mrs. Göttling accepted me, and I loved my classical voice lessons. I went every week. I was singing in French and German and Italian, and knew that other kids my age were not learning what I was learning. I felt very, very special to be able to learn this material. At the age of 11, I wanted to know how people on the radio sounded that way. And I asked her, and she got very, very mad at me. This was also around the time when rock singers were dying from drug overdoses. So in her mind, anything that was not classical led to heroin addiction and dying at 27. But I remember her being red in the face and saying, Lisa, if you do this, you will lose your voice, you will lose everything we have worked for. And I just thought, well, she can't be right, because people were doing it all the time with no training, and I'd hear them. Aretha Franklin, I remember listening to her, Barbra Streisand, and they sounded great, but I didn't know how to make that sound. Because as a female, we're trained in classical to sing mostly in head voice, and for many years, whenever I would sing high, I could kind of sing pop in chest voice when I sing low, but when I go higher, it always sounded like that. No matter how forward I made it, it would still sound like head voice, and I knew they weren't doing that on the radio. And I moved to California when I was 15. I was starting to write my own songs around 11. I was listening to Joni Mitchell and Elton John and played piano since 4, so I was really, really playing, really accompanying myself. And I came to California around 1970, and I couldn't find the answers. I would go from teacher to teacher, and I found that the skilled teachers with background were all classical, much more than now. And all the few rock or pop teachers that there were, they didn't sing very well, or they might get red in the face, or my veins popping out. And so I just would take little bits and pieces and think, this has to make sense. It seems so mysterious. I had so many questions, even as I was getting a master's degree in voice, unanswered questions such as, what's a register? That made their eyes spin around. We didn't have the science that we have now. We didn't have different pedagogies. There were no videotapes. There were very few books on the topic. And we were all struggling to figure out, how do we do this? This is an invisible thing. It's so unlike learning to play flute or oboe or piano, where you can see what you're doing. And it always seemed to be imagery-based. Imagine a ping pong ball floating on a fountain of air. Now, that's going to work with some people, but I had vocal problems. In fact, I think I got worse and worse as I became more and more confused. And I got to the point in my early 20s when I thought, I'm either going to quit or I'm going to figure this out. And I feel like I figured it out. And one of the key turning points for me was that I started to feel things in my vocal cords. No one had ever said anything about sensation in the neck area. In fact, the message I'd always been given for many years was, don't feel anything here. And I think that's an extension of, when you sing well, you will not feel anything in your vocal cords. And that gets misinterpreted as, don't even try to feel anything in your vocal cords. But in fact, the vocal cords are the only thing you can actually hurt. And we do have some sensation there, and it can be developed by simply paying attention to sensations. So it was around 1980 where I was working with yet another teacher trying to start. I was always starting at the beginning. Oh, Lisa, you're in bad shape, on the floor. You know, always had to start with breathing. And that was another thing that was confusing to me, was the word breathing. Because it seemed like support was one action and breathing was another action, but all my teachers, up until that point, called it all breathing. Oh, you have a problem with breathing. And I wondered, does that mean I have a problem with the way I take air in, or how I manage the air when I sing? So I thought that really needs to be clarified. I'm a to-do person. I always wanted to be told what to do. And not just, oh, well, that was good, try something else. That didn't work. Oh, let's just think of something different. I don't want to guess. You know, especially if you're paying a lot of money, you want to go to someone who says, okay, here's what I hear. Here's a problem, let's fix it. And that became really fun for me when I learned what fixes things. You know, it's just a solution orientation. Now, there are people out there who don't respond to that approach. They just want to imagine and dream and play a gong and tone. But they're very, very few. Most, you know what I'm talking about, right? Most people, though, want to be good. They want to see how good can they get. They don't want to have vocal problems. They want to create magic. And technique is not the goal. And when you have problems, technique becomes the goal. And it creates anxiety and agitation and low self-esteem. Especially if you've been studying a long time and you think, I should be better by now. So for those of us who are geeks for voice, who think it's incredibly fascinating and eternally fascinating, because there always seems to be something to learn, knowing exactly what to do is really fun. And then you don't have to feel insecure, you can rely on your voice. Another thing I've noticed with the techniques I'm going to share with you today are that you don't have to warm up very much. And many students have come to me and said, Lisa, I used to have to warm up at least a half an hour to 40 minutes. Now, just a few lip trills, one more exercise, I'm ready to go. So you save your voice for the stage. You don't get vocally tired trying to figure out how to sing. Also, you can sing sick. You can sing when just your level of consistency, control, and confidence goes up when you know exactly what to do. And the thing that comes from is having a voice that works and knowing how to do it. So that's been my approach. And for some people, the effects, the techniques work so well that they almost can't deal with it. Some people are so emotionally tied up in their vocal problems that when you say, okay, that's fine now, those 25 years of register breaking, that was totally smooth, and they don't even know what to do with it. But you just say, let's move on, because it's fixed. This is not the goal anyway. Let's move on to, let's work on music. Let's work on repertoire. Let's work on performance, gesture, how to make people cry, how to create electricity in the air. That's really the goal. But you can't do that if you feel your voice is going to fail on you. Now comes the topic of belting, and there's been so many negative things said about belting over the years, and a lot of it's based on truth. Because originally belting was in musical theater with no electronic amplification. If you could come on stage and blast and be heard in the back of the hall, a woman doing this in her chest voice, men are always singing in chest voice. It wasn't as radical. But you get somebody like an Ethel Merman who gets out there, who's in tune, who can be loud or soft, not always loud, who has vibrato, who can sell a character. This was absolutely thrilling. And belting highlights certain aspects of the human experience, just as singing in head voice highlights certain aspects, meaning in my view, there's no one style which perfectly encapsulates all of the human experience that we're trying to communicate and express. When I sing R&B, that's very good for certain styles, and we'll talk about that this afternoon, or country or rock. Classical, people who are totally only love classical, and I know people like that. They really don't like anything else. And that's okay too. We don't choose what we like. So we shouldn't apologize for it. And I remember a lady, I was teaching in Belmont University in Nashville, and she was really struggling with it. And she said at the end, she goes, I wanted to like this, but it's not singing to me. It just sounds like talking. It just didn't float her boat. And I said, well, I thank you for trying. Now you get to be a specialist. Go back and do classical with impunity. Don't worry about being a master of anything else, because you know that you don't like it enough, and that's fine, to have a passion to work on it in your own voice. So thank you for trying this one last time. And I said, I am a generalist. I'm interested in all of voice, particularly besides the US, any bizarre vocal. I amass recordings of what I call vocal oddities. Sounds that you think you've heard it all, and then you hear something you've never heard before. And people are always sending me YouTube links. What is she doing? What is he doing here? And so, most of the time I don't. Well, most of them I do know the answer and can replicate it, but occasionally it'll be, that is a new one for me. Let me play with that. I find that if I can do it, I can teach it. And I think as teachers, we need to be able to do it at least so we know what it feels like. It doesn't mean we have to perform in any other style. And it can take years. The bad news is that it seems to me that if you've had more than 2 years of classical training, it can be difficult to make the new way of singing second nature. Under 2 years seems to be, oh yeah, it's faster, because it's not just phrasing. In the old days, it thought, oh, belting is just, as Victoria explained so nicely, oh, just be more nasal. But you don't want to use head voice. It's all about chest voice, and I'll talk about registers in depth. Just making a head voice sound like this and being more nasal doesn't make it belting. It just makes it really annoying. Makes my eyes do like that. Also, the traditional approach was that belting was always loud, and there are still teachers today who teach that belting means loud, and it means nasal, and it means potentially dangerous, potentially ugly, and we just all have to get used to it. Well, the good news is that I'm going to show you how none of that is true. I want to redefine belting instead of what the general public thinks, which is that it's always loud. Because we need to be expressive, I want you to be able to entertain the idea that belting can be beautiful, it can be soft, you can even have air in the sound. There's a great musical theater singer named Louise Dearman in the UK who actually belts high with air in the sound, meaning the vocal cords are not completely closed. It's glorious. but very, very unusual and difficult to do. That you can have different belting, what I call belting substyles: brassy belt, ringy belt, nasal belt, heavy belt, and speech-like belt. And now in musical theater, the influences of pop and rock elements into the phrasing, growling, fry slides, different stylisms that are used are now the new musical theater. So even traditional belting, when we think Ethel Merman, this is very rarely used anymore. Almost every show in New York right now is all pop rock belt. But it starts, in my view, with posture and support and closing your cords so that you never press them. Pressing the vocal cords, and by that I mean, I'm a little afraid to demonstrate. I'm going to cover the mic a little. Here's a pressed vocal cord. You actually feel the constriction of the cord itself. Over time, in most people, that will result in swelling. And my goal with my students is they're touring, they're doing 6 to 8 months, traveling madly, or they're in musical theater. They need to have a technique that they can do the impossible, to do 8 shows a week for a minimum of 6 months to a year. It seems impossible. And reducing pressing, or not knowing what pressing is and not doing it, is one of the most important things. But since support has been so vaguely taught, something about the diaphragm, sing from the diaphragm, and then they touch the abdomen. Or there's the push this in, push this out, do nothing, breathe this. There's so many different methods. So what I try to do is find a method of support that works for everything and everybody: children, old people, any style, the talented and the untalented. I wanted to have a technique, and my technique is much, it's really everything I know, but there are what I call the basic skills of singing that every singer should know about and be able to control: posture, breathing, knowing exactly their low note and high note, their absolute range, understanding registers and feeling them as laryngeal muscle sensations, larynx positions, how to move your voice box up and down so that you have another resonance color. So I can raise my voice box, and so this is going to be good for certain characteristics or styles. This is my regular voice box position. I call it a number 3, and my lowered voice box at a number 4. So that we'll talk more about that this afternoon, but that's one of the concepts, that we don't just anchor it in one place. For different characters or styles, we can actually pick a different height. The pharynx, right there, the hypopharynx, that has 3 positions. Wonderful. Kids love it. Students love it. You just show them, go, oh, I can feel that, and then they can make these different sounds. We'll go over that later, too. I don't do a lot with vowels, except that when you sing in a style, you want to make sure that the dialect is correct for that style. But I don't teach, all vocai and marquise and vowel training. Very mechanical. Lots of do this with your jaw, do this with your lower belly, do this with your head. And it works. It just works. And a lot of the things I've discovered came from observation and imitation. And I think imitation is one of the lost arts of the singer. In fact, when I was little, my teacher said, I don't want you to listen to any records. And I understand that. I was 7, 8, 9. She didn't want me to listen to Joan Sutherland or Marilyn Horne and imitate that. But I do think I might have been better sooner if I had some role models. But for R&B and rock, if you listen in my Total Singer workshop, which I've talk about later, I'm not doing them as I have done them for the last 13 years, which was I did them all myself, 3-day workshop. I would have lists of different singers who I thought were worth listening to, observing and imitating, because that's how we naturally learn to sing, through imitation. And for those of us who have learned in alternate ways, we've often forgotten that if we watch very, very carefully on a live performance of a great technical singer, and we do what they do, you too are more likely to make that sound. So I would watch, I would do the mouth. So that's another aspect of the basic concepts of singing. Which resonator shapes, which mouth shapes result in which sound? And I've taken some flack for that from certain schools of thought that say you shouldn't pull a face. But if you do a certain face for jazz or a certain face for opera, you will have already entered halfway in through that door. Because the resonator shape, how do you shape your throat, your mouth, and your nose, is very, very important in any style. So I want people to be able to save time, get good quickly, and learn to feel the most important thing, which is the vocal cords. They're so tiny. That, you know, when I have a younger person, I'll say, your vocal cords are only the size of my pinky nail. I want to give them a good appreciation for how small they are. And then I'll play a note, for instance, like this, and I'll say, ooh, and I'll have them sing that note. And I'll say, tell me how many times a second you think your vocal cords are vibrating or hitting each other. And they'll say, oh, how about 5? I go, that's a good guess, but that's 440 times a second they're hitting it. And this is just, you know, it helps gives people a sense, an appropriate sense of wonder and appreciation for all that our vocal cords do. So if it's possible to enlarge and modernize what belting is, that it doesn't have to be loud, it doesn't have to be nasal, it does have a higher larynx than classical, but that you still have some control of the up and down. And I'll demonstrate later how even in belting you can have different, more romantic would be the lower voice box, and higher voice box would be more annoying or whiny sounding. But to think of belting as talking, it comes from talking. I'm talking right now. I'm using the mode called chest voice. And all I'm going to do is show you the trick so that you can take chest voice up higher. I'm going to take it higher, 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 higher. I'm still talking. I'm still talking, 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 talking. I'm still talking. And that is the basis of a pleasant, comfortable belting sound. And from that, you can become louder. And from that, you can add nasality or ring or brightness. And that's resonance is another topic we need to talk about. What is resonance? How to control specific resonances, not just be more resonant. It's too vague. We can be more precise about it. And how a character may need to be more nasal in that part, and another character may need to be more ringy on that part. Not just because that's what the words are and the feelings are inspiring. So all of a sudden, resonance doesn't become the method by which you belt, but simply an ornament that you add for a certain mood you're trying to create, or just to build a song so it's duller in the verses, let's say, a pop song, like, let's say I'm singing a pop song and it's pretty dull, but when I get to the chorus, now I'm adding resonance just to build it. So we have resonance as the frosting, not everything. It's not everything. Now, I have done research that shows, for those of you who are interested in science, that it shows that when you change your resonance, it does change the vocal fold function. But I don't think that way, and I don't teach that way. I teach the way that works. Again, I want to be able to teach for untalented people as well. Not just the people, you know the types, the teachers who only work with the talented ones. But I want to be a problem fixer because that's my specialty, based on having to fix my own problems and coming to a point where I can do this. This is amazing. Then I forget, if I go on vacation and I don't sing, I forget I can even sing. And then when I do, I can sing. Oh, how fun. Again, for safe belting, you must be on press patrol in yourself and in your students. I do not allow any pressing. I teach 5 vocal fold closures. I don't have it in here. If you would like me to send you a graph, which I think is really useful, please email me and just ask for the vocal fold closure graph, and I'll just email it to you. And so there's 2 that should be avoided. One is pressed, and that's when you're really squeezing the cords. And the other one I call hard closure. And for today, I have 3 hard closures, but for today, hard closure means when you squeeze the back ends of the vocal cords. And you will feel it as if you put your fingers out like this and you push your knuckles together, it'll feel like that, but in your throat. And the knuckles that you're feeling are really your arytenoid cartilages pressurizing each other. And that sound, hard closure, is this. Hey, 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 hey. You hear how that sounds different from hey, 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 where you're squeezing more of the tissue. So let's for now say neither of those. And we're just going to go for clean closure, and then there's blowy. This is a blowy sound. I can make it loud if I want to. Louder, louder. And it still has that warmth in it. So those are the two go-to closures, clean closure and blowy. And breathy is any closure where you hear breathiness. And that's all. It's nice to have that as a picture that you can show your students, because when they see the picture, they're more likely to do that with their chords when they have the visual cue. But it all starts with posture in terms of how do I control my voice? How do I make it consistent where I can sing longer without going hoarse? You could have the most perfect technique in the world, and you will have vocal problems if you sing too much. It's just like you can't overuse any part of your body without paying the price. So this just gives you a little more time on your vocal cords before, what I call more time on your vocal clock, before they start to swell and you become hoarse. So I'm going to demonstrate posture. This is training posture, not necessarily performance posture. I'm going to move this over. Just show you the way I like to do it. I like to have the feet hip width apart, with the toes ever so slightly out. I prefer not to do the toes straight ahead. I think that looks too yoga-y and too square and careful. The feet out slightly is more natural. And I say to some, we don't want ducky, and we don't want pigeon. And with young girls who have a tendency to put their feet together or do a flamingo, I'm always looking at their feet. I just look at the feet. The knees are flexed, no big news there. Not locked back. I often say not, or wrong and then right. That I think is very helpful. So here's locked back, that's wrong. Here's super bent, that's wrong. And here's unlocked, where if I had a tuxedo stripe up my pant, it would be straight. And then we put the thumb on the belly button and hand below, that's the lower belly. And that's the lower belly on most people. Occasionally people who have a very low belly button, I have them put their thumb above their belly button, because this is not a pubic thing. It's just, this is on me and on most people, the lower belly, and it has a specific job for breathing and support. Two separate functions, two separate tasks. So for posture, though, it's just soft, lower belly soft. Above the belly button, upper belly, let that be soft. Next, we use the imaginary hook. We're going to raise the chest, insert imaginary hook under the sternum, and rest the chest slightly so that the hook is holding the chest up. We don't want to overlift the chest, and that's why the hook works very well, because if you imagine that you're actually resting in a highway and that the hook's holding you up, it'll keep the chest up. I like shoulders soft and forward, not down and not back. I like the back ribs and side ribs slightly expanded to what I call singer's ribs. And if I have enough time, I'll demonstrate regular ribs, blowing out, regular ribs, singer's ribs, and even maximum. But for all of the styles that I do, if I'm singing opera, I may go maximum, because you want as much power as possible. And the phrases are so much longer. But singer's ribs is good for the commercial styles. You don't need to go to 100% like you might have to if you were singing over a 100-piece orchestra. What else? Back of the neck, very important. Back of the neck long. So I get behind them and very gently lengthen the back of the neck. Some people will actually grow an inch because they're compressing the neck so much. Lengthening the back of the neck, make sure the head is on the body. Now, head position changes. For classical, it's fine to have the head slightly tilted down. It helps to lower the voice box. But if you look at the great belters, whether they're rock singers or musical theater singers, you're going to see a different head position, and that's okay. I want to demonstrate that while we're on the topic of head right now. And that is that the head can be slightly up, meaning tilted up, but the head is still in line with the body. It's not pulled forward. That's bad. It's not the same thing as chin lifting, reaching, and straining for high notes. It's simply a tilting up. And when we talk about the action of what I call laryngeal lean and the jaw, belter's bite, you'll see why this elevated, slightly raised chin is so common. Now, I can belt with my head down, I can do a headstand and do it, but if you look at the great people, you will see, this is the thing you see over and over again. You'll see a protruding jaw, and you'll see more neck than you will if you're watching a typical classical singer who's tilting the head down. Because you don't have to do it, but it helps when you're starting out to do everything that makes it easy. And lastly, you feel like you're hanging from the ceiling from the crown of your head. And I like to demonstrate being a tree. May I borrow someone just to show what being a tree is like? Come on up. Thank you so much. All I want you to do is just stand next to me and face the audience. And this is so good for working with young people who don't feel the ground and are loose in their legs. It isn't easy to think that if my legs are loose, my mind will be loose. I'll be more relaxed. But in fact, it just makes you a worse singer. So I'm just going to put my hand on your hip, and I'm going to push against you, and please resist. And I'll say, that's how your legs should be when you sing. Your toes, your ankles, feel your calves, feel your hamstrings. And so they call this being a tree. Because it's one thing to tell people that you have roots going down. It's another thing to have them resist you. Try me. Please put your hand on my... And I have a good time with this. I'm gonna put some muscle into it. That's all you got, and we don't want to. That's good. I don't want to. I did once have a little boy, and he about threw me across the room. I was like, man, this little kid is strong. The point is that when you're doing posture, I just wanted to add that this works great it'll help with their power. Everything will work better if they feel like they're a tree. And if they look loose, I'll go, be a tree. And they remember me pushing against them. Thank you very much. Support. We all know that support stands for abdominal breath support. But the diaphragm, and thinking about the diaphragm, which, in case you don't know, is located in the rib cage below the lungs. That means that none of this abdomen or waist area is your diaphragm. Let me just spend a second about this. There's a great on YouTube, a great video. It's called, just Google on YouTube, put in 3D diaphragm, and you'll find a great video you can show your students, because there's so much misconception about the diaphragm and singing from the diaphragm. So it sits like a dome. It's like a red jellyfish. I say, anything with blood helps people remember it, I found. So it's up under the lungs, and when it works, it flattens down, but only goes to here. And when it relaxes, it comes up. And then I say, now you can forget about it. Because you can't see the diaphragm, you can't touch it, and you can't feel it. Though technically it's not a completely involuntary muscle, I think of it as an involuntary muscle. It's voluntary in that if I said take a breath, you would take a breath and your diaphragm would descend and work. But it's a special muscle in that it's involuntary and voluntary. But either way, knowing about it isn't that useful to us. What is useful is knowing how the bellies should work. And I have experimented with many support methods. In Europe, they have some wacky ones. I won't take your time telling you some of the wacky ones I've seen that don't work. And I think to myself, well, they must work for somebody. But I want a technique that works for 10 out of 10. I don't want something that works for 2 out of 10, or only for a classical singer, or only for a death metal singer. That's not useful. So what I'm going to share with you is really been road tested on thousands of people, and it works for me. So if this is different than what you've done, I welcome you to experiment with it. Because often in classical, if you're a naturally good singer, there may be very little attention given to the topic of support. And it's crucial for healthy, beautiful belting. Chest voice requires more pressure, more subglottal pressure than head voice does. So you will feel that your belly's moving quite a bit when you're doing belting, in really quite surprising ways. And I'm sure there are great belters who don't use this approach, but they're not me, and they're not my students. And again, we have to do what works for us and works for everyone who walks in the door saying, help me. So if you think of support as the pressure controller, it's pressurizing the airstream. That's what makes the cords work. Always remember the cords do not vibrate themselves. They are flaps. We do think of a pitch, and they assume a length. We do think of a register, and they assume a shape. We think of a loudness, and they get ready to do either soft singing or loud singing. But aside from that, they don't vibrate themselves. They're merely like sails in a breeze. They're reacting to a stream of pressurized air. There's 5 jobs of support that I teach. 4 are the most important, but I want to share with you the 5th one as well, though it doesn't work on everyone, but the 4 do work on everyone. And the 5th can be very, very useful, especially if you have one of those kids who comes in who is a belter so loud, and you hear like hamburger, bloody hamburger. And the problem with this kind of student is that they're getting a lot of acclaim in their schools for being loud. And it's horrible, and they are going to have permanent voice problems if they continue. Usually they lose their voice pretty early, and then they just go into something else. So the job 5, the waist support, can be very useful for people like that, because I've found that waist support, for those for whom it works, disallows pressing of the vocal cords. I cannot press my vocal cords when I'm sticking my waist out, which is very interesting. Though breathing is important, it's not as important as support. And I hearten you, if that's a verb, to, in your minds and in your teaching, to separate breathing from support, and don't call it all breathing. It's confusing. And because both are best taught as tasks, and they have completely different set of tasks, different exercises, you'll get good breathing and you'll get good support, and they won't be as confused. First job of support is to keep the chest up. That's not difficult. We all do that pretty much. But I keep a real eye on it. I don't like the chest to drop at all. Not at all, even when they're out of air. So I tell people, I want you to keep your chest up and keep it up. Don't let it drop for even 1/8 of an inch when you're singing. It wants to drop, but we're not going to let it drop. And there's an exercise, basic exercise I use to teach support, and I call it the sh pattern. Let's see if I can do this without hurting. So we put the hands up on the collarbone. I used to teach it putting the hand here, but I now prefer to do it where we're touching center towards the collarbone, because in females, young and older, those intercostal muscles tend to be quite weak. They might have really strong pecs, but not this part. So here's the sh pattern. I shall demonstrate. Sh, 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 sh. So it's 4 short ones, very loud. So you push up. Sh, 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 sh. And then the long one, I'll have you do it in a second. The long one is 4 beats. It's 1, 2, 3, off on 4, with a crescendo. And you stop the sound with your tongue in your mouth. Listen again. Shh. You don't stop the sound by dropping. So let's try that. Put your hand on your upper chest, sitting tall in your chairs, really loud. Let's work. We're trying to strengthen these muscles. Here we go. 4 short ones, pushing up on the chest. Shh, 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 shh. Good, and then you can be normal, but normal. So that's the chest, and then for those for whom it's dropping, they just have to do it for a week or 2 until the muscles become strong. Second job of support is to keep the ribs expanded to singer's ribs position. That means slightly wider than normal. Hands are on the side of the ribs, pretty high up, not the bottom of the ribs. Those will always move a little bit, but higher up, sort of where the index fingers are below the breast area, for guys, 3 inches below the nipple, and the thumb on the side and the back. And its job is to stay out and not collapse, not accordion when you do the sh pattern. Please watch. Shh, 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 shh. And that takes some training to keep the ribs from going shh, shh, shh. Notice the difference in the pressure. If I let my ribs accordion, I have less pressure in the airstream. And what we want is high pressure. Shh, 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 shh. Try that. You can stand if you prefer, or you can sit, watch your neighbor's eyeballs. Okay, chest high, hands quite high, a little bit higher, 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 higher. So the hands are right about there. A little bit higher. So if you have a wire Your index fingers are against the wire. That's right. That's good. Okay, let's try it. Here we go. Well done. Very steady pressure. And you can tell a lot about the pressure by the sound. A lot of people, they can't crescendo on it. It's not loud enough. So I say loud, really angry, go for it. And just work it, work it, work it. The third job of support may be the most important one of all, and it changed my life. I'll spare you the story of how it all came to be, but this one is the main fix. It's sort of like if you have any problem, just fix this one first, and that problem, that even a long-standing problem, might go away. The upper belly has a spot on it I call now the magic spot. When I made the Total Singer DVD in 1995, I hadn't refined it to the magic spot. Instead, on that video, I just have a hand on the upper belly. But there is a spot on there which goes out the most when you make a loud sh sound. Mine is a little on the low side. Most people's is higher below the sternum. If you have a student who has scoliosis, it usually will be, their magic spot will be off-center to the right. I have only one student now who I cannot find his magic spot. There's no matter where I poke around. A lot of women, you have to get under the bra, but it's there. You know, it feels like a button or a region. It's the spot that goes out the most when you naturally make a loud sh sound. Its job, and this is the drum roll part, this is for any style of singing, the job of the upper belly magic spot is to firm out. Not contract, not work. Firm out and to stay out for every note of the phrase. It doesn't want to do that. It may go out, but then it always goes in when we're running out of air. And if you can keep it out, you will have control through the entire phrase. Now, I'd like you to try to find yours. Poke around. If you can't find it, raise your hand and I'll come to you. Actually, if you can't find it, once you come to me and I'll find it for you, it's that important that you all know where it is because I want you to be able to demonstrate it. So just say a really loud sh and poke around. Just go shh, shh, and find the spot. It's there. Keep poking. Go higher. If in doubt, go higher. Under the bra if necessary. Anybody not finding it? Okay, would you mind coming up? Okay, let's see. Let's turn you a little bit, and you need to do it really loudly. Again. Shh, shh. Oh yeah, it's right there. That's very strong. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think you weren't doing the shushing loud enough.
Okay.
Yeah, really loud. No wimps. Anybody, come on up. That's weird. This is not your diaphragm. I will explain that too. Okay, give me a loud shot. Relax to start. A really fast one. Excuse my hand. It's just high up there.
Okay.
So just reach up.
What, this little bone right here?
It's below the bone. It's below the bone. And try a few more fingers, but I felt a region below. It's not the bone. You'll feel like muscle below the bone.
Thank you.
Now, it seems like you're doing a support, Wendy. It seems like you were doing kind of an in and up. Is that the way you teach support, which is lower belly in and up?
That's what you were, I'm not sure what you showed.
We're showing that when you make a loud sound, that the upper belly magic spot goes out.
Well, I know that.
But what I noticed is that you were doing a support I call in and up. And I think it made it a little harder to find the
You're saying the abdomen should be going out.
Yes, the magic spot goes up. But I was noticing your lower belly, the way it was moving was a little, we'll get to that because that's next. There's lower belly support, there's the typical ones are do nothing, straight in and down, in and up, and what I think is the worst one, forgive me if this is what you teach, to stick it out for singing. That one causes high note issues and a tight feeling in the throat. Did you need a little help with yours? If in doubt, come on up. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. The goal is to do 4. So when I sing, even when I sing softly, it goes out the whole time. When I sing loudly, it goes out just slightly more, but it always goes out. This is the main controller of the voice. I want that on my gravestone. That changed my life. This changed, I could sing in tune. When I didn't use this enough, I would feel my neck tighten, my jaw tighten. I'm a big believer in if the bellies don't work right, you will have compensatory tension. No question about it. It could show up as tension in the neck, the front of the neck. It could be the back of the neck shortens when you go to high notes and it pulls the head up. You may have tongue tension, jaw tension, tweaking of the head. All of that is compensatory if the bellies aren't working. So instead of spending weeks and months working on relaxation exercises, put the work in the right place, and most of the time, those tensions will go away. If not, we spend a little time in the mirror with the jaw and the tongue. Not a big deal. I spent months, my teacher spent months with me as a kid on my tongue and my jaw because she didn't have a clear idea on how to teach support. So something's going to work. We're just going to move the work to where the sun don't shine. Okay, give me a loud, quick shh, please. Okay. Oh, are you one of those?
I thought it was kind of
Okay.
like right
Oh,
here.
are you? Do you have any spinal?
I don't think so.
Okay, let me try. Now here's why it's not working as well, and that is that your entire belly is going out. So I'm going to use, if that's okay, as an example, and that is that the lower belly has a different job, and it's to go in. But we didn't do the sh pattern, did we? We need to do the sh pattern for the upper belly. So let's do that. If you don't mind, everybody, let's do it together. The sh pattern for the upper belly magic spot. And it goes out for the sound and then relax it for breathing. It doesn't stay out when you breathe. It works and then it relaxes. Then relax it. Let's do it again. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and then relax it. So that's that job. The lower belly job, may I have your left hand on my lower belly? That's the belly button and just below for most people. Its job in singing, in my experience, is to go straight in. And so that's what I was noticing. Yours was going in and up. And it might have changed it. So if we go straight in with the lower belly, relax it completely for breathing. Check this out, everybody. And then there's the long one. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Relax it. So it's clutch, gradual clutch, relax all the way. And not pop and drop. It's not boing. It's not hook. It's just and then let it take its own sweet time. And yours was sticking out. So when the lower goes in, the upper belly works better. That's what I'm trying to say, is that the lower belly does its job, the upper belly does its job better. So put your hand on your lower belly and give me a sh. Let's see if we can make it go in. Yeah. Okay. Really slowly. Release. Again. Stop. Make it short. So it'll be and the long one. Well done. Let me get you the tempo. The lower belly's a lot more stuff in there. We have to move around. So let's do that one really slowly. This tempo. Let's try that tempo with me. Here we go, everybody. And stop the sound with the tongue in the mouth, so it's like that. Again, from the top. Good. Now the long one. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, and then let it go. Right. We're going to keep the hook high, keep the chest. Oh, I forgot to talk about the importance of the shoulder over the hip. Would you turn sideways to them? Because when I'm doing posture, I knew there was something I forgot. We want to make sure that the shoulder is over the hip bone and that they're not leaning back at all. The bellies do not work well if the shoulders are too far back. Okay, good. So now let's try the combo. One hand on the lower belly, 3 fingers on, let's just try the middle. Okay. That's going to go out, that's going to go in, and see if you feel more now in the upper part. Just one sh.
It's like here.
Yeah, you feel it more, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're kind of a
So they work as a team. All of these muscles work as a team. The chest, it also plays a part. If the chest is not up and the ribs are not out, these won't work as well either. So they all work together, and nobody sees it. In case you're wondering, like, well, are you going to see pumping? No. You may feel some pumping, but it will not be visible. Thank you very much. Yes? Midge. All right. So, just do some. Let me just take a look. Just give me a shh. Shh, shh. Now, can you make it any louder? Like you're really mad. Shh, shh. That's good. Okay, that looks good. The lower belly's going straight in, and I touch. Go ahead. Shh, shh, shh.
I think it's under.
I'm also seeing the chest dropping. So we need to keep the chest up. And I've had with some ladies, they have to go in from the top of the bra.
Yeah,
Go
that's what I
ahead.
did.
Do that. It's pretty rare, but we'll do whatever it takes. Whatever works, right? Go. Pull the lower belly in. Keep the chest up. It sounds right, but I would really practice on the chest. Because in the mirror.
The hook, like
No, the sh pattern for job 1 of support, which is to keep the chest up. Give me your hand and I'll show you, because your chest is collapsing when you make the sh.
Okay.
And that could affect how much you feel. Shh, shh, shh. And yours is going shh, shh, shh. More air in the stream, but I want more pressure. Less air, more pressure. Shh, shh. You hear that? More pressure, less air, versus shh, shh. Less pressure, more air. Shh. So push up. And you would do that in the mirror. Put your hand on your up there. You would have a mirror. And do the sh pattern and push up very hard each time on the chest. Yes. And the long one. Good. So it's not that so what I'm noticing is that it's not weak. It's just about making it work. For a lot of ladies, it's weak and they must strengthen. In your case, it was about giving it a job and doing it until it remembers to do it. But for you, also because of your teeth, there's more air that comes through. So I don't know, something about my teeth. I have a little tighter bite, and so I can get more pressure. And it'd be hard to demonstrate because you don't want people putting their hands down the top of your bra. But just, you'll feel it on them. I want you to feel mine, and you can feel, mine is a little overdeveloped. So most people's is more like a button, but you never know. Some people's like a region. Shh, 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 shh. If you want control, you must control this. Otherwise, you'll go, can't have a vibrato problem, fix this. Chest up, ribs out, upper belly magic spot. It solves vibrato problems, pitch problems, straight tone problems, pressing problems. It's your go-to fix. Thank you. Yes, Wendy. Oh, so of course. Please. Mm-hmm.
So intimate. Okay.
And just very softly touch it.
Okay. Sorry.
Shh, 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 shh. One of my favorite exercises, and it's on the Total Singer DVD, is what I call the upper belly trainer. And this always gets a big, people really like it because they like to time themselves and see if they can do it better. So here's how it goes. I'm going to be holding an S steadily for 30 seconds. I have gone for a minute. Okay. That's 30.
Thank you.
And that really puts it to the test and strengthens it. You're welcome. Sure. If you have a student who has a hiatal hernia, you really can't work on this area. It's too. Yes, well, we all have that issue, don't we? It's, if you do it normally, it shouldn't be much more of a problem. If you do it like all day long, it could exacerbate, I would think, the reflux, because the pressure changes, especially if you're prone to a floppy valve, which I am. I think I have a genetically floppy lower esophageal sphincter. I love that word, sphincter. I just love to say, can we all say that, please? Sphincter, oh, just so fun. Okay, we want you to feel my upper belly. Let me have you feel both. If you want to be able to feel, and also available, anything I'm showing you today is available for your hands through the weekend. If you want to feel all the stuff in my neck, please, it is at your disposal. Shh, 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 shh. Notice when I'm singing softly, it works about as much when I'm singing loudly. It doesn't work that differently. It's not just like, I support for loud. I support for high. No, you support for everything because the chords require it. I do it to make my chords happy. So they give me what my brain wants. Any questions about what that feels like? And then you relax them for breathing.
Can you, I don't know where, I'm trying to figure out where mine is.
Okay, do you mind taking your coat off so we can see? Let's start with the upper belly. 3 fingers on where you think it may be. Okay, start with it relaxed. And actually, I'll poke around. Relax, relax, relax. Good. Now, quick, loud shh. 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 It's very strong. That's right there. Right there in that little groove. But you always want to start with it relaxed. I think you already had it kind of out, and then maybe didn't feel it. So it's relaxed, and then boom, like a wall. And I call it a spongy wall. It's not hard like a rock. If you have people who are like the overachievers, everything's 150%, then you got to make sure it's not too hard because you don't want over support. This is a concept. Most people under support, but some people, go-getters, may over support. That creates too high a pressure and the chords can become stiff. The person who really, don't go yet, the person who, a student I've had who I had to under support for working with is an oboe player. She's used to high pressure just to make a sound on the oboe. And it created this woody, like an oboe sound in her singing voice because the chords got so stiff, kind of like, ah, that sound. That's too much pressure hitting the chords. We want to have always that floppy feeling in the chords. All right, stand again. Let's check out your lower belly, left hand on your lower belly. And start with it soft and give me a loud shh. Shh. Good. Shh. Shh. Good. And right there, feel that go out and that go in. Start with them soft. That's the most important thing for you. Shh. Work them. Louder. Can you do it louder? Good. That's right. That's right. And let's do it long. Shh. How long can you do it? Keep going. Keep going. Keep the upper belly out. Keep it out. Keep it out. Keep it out. Keep your chest up. Keep your ribs out. Keep it going, going, going. That's not bad. But if you want to control your airstream, there's no better way than mastering these. Okay? Feel better about it? Yeah. The hands are so important because your body will lie to you. It'll say, I'm working. And you put your hand there and go, I don't feel anything. So let your hands be the parents because these can be like teenage boys who assured you that he took the trash out. Yes?
Do you know what muscles that is that's popping?
It's so interesting. I have looked at this with an anatomist who specializes in vocals, and we were looking at 3D images, and this is called the answer was no. It's called the linea alba. It is a white ligament that lies between the rectus abdominis muscles. But it is it goes out because the diaphragm is contracting and going down. So it's pushing organs forward. And so it is a way to actually monitor your diaphragmatic action. And when you keep the upper belly out, you are technically keeping your diaphragm contracted and lowered. So you are working your diaphragm, even though this is not technically the diaphragm. Yes?
I just wanted to go back to the placement of the neck and working with guitar players and the mic.
Well, it's a battle. It's a battle. And I know I have a friend, he's a masterful guitar player, and he's deformed because he started playing guitar at the age of 8, and by the time he was 15, his back was deformed from leaning over. So what I say is, if you are a singer, then you're first, and a guitarist, you've got to think of yourself as a singer first and a guitarist second. So we're going to get you whether standing or sitting with good posture, and now we're going to apply guitar to you. You do not apply your body to the guitar. If you're not sure what your fingers are doing, you need to practice more so you can have your fingers do it without constantly looking at it. Also, we have to remember as pianists and guitarists that they act as shields from really communicating. And so if you bring that up, that don't let this stop you from sharing your energy, your electrical energy, your emotional energy with people. Don't have it be a wall that hides your insecurity. And I will have them practice without the instrument so they can hear themselves sing and how good they sound. And then we put them to the piano. But often they're struggling, and the pianists too, they're struggling, they're thinking about their fingers, and they sing much worse, and they can't perform worth watching sitting at the piano. So I do a lot of training with these people standing, and then we apply the instrument to them. They must think of themselves as singers first. Okay, fifth job of support, again, the optional job, is the waist support, and that's the small of the waist. Now, many of you as classical singers may breathe into your waist, widen the waist. That's not how I teach breathing, but I have to tell you, if I do sing classical, I do that too. You breathe into the waist, widen the waist, and then maybe expand out. But what I'm going to show you is that we're starting with a relaxed waist, and then it pushes out for support and stays out. Now, some people, there'll be nothing there, but I can feel something here around the hips. Again, if you don't feel it in the waist, I just say forget about it. Just say, no problem. Really focus on the first 4. But if they do feel the waist go out, it can be very useful for high power, not pressing the chords. That's what it's really good for. High power, long phrases. High power, long phrases, like Bach. It's really good to stick that waist out, keep it out. But keep the chest up. There's this tendency when I push the waist out to have the chest drop. So you have to really focus on keeping the chest out. So here's what it looks like. Shh, 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 shh. And then let it go after the sound. That's important in practicing the sh pattern, is you don't stop the support while you're still making sound. It's got to be strong past the last note. And then bellies and waist relax for breathing. So super briefly, here's how I teach breathing, because it's not as important for what we need to do today, but I teach exhaling, chest stays up, lower belly goes straight in, freeze. Open the mouth, open the vocal cords, release the lower belly, feel air come in, and then imagine filling to the top of your head. That way you get a lung full of air, but it starts low. I'll show it again. Exhaling, chest stays up, lower belly goes straight in. Freeze. Open the mouth, open the throat. Release the lower belly slowly. Sucks air in, but not enough to feel really satisfied. Then I fill the top of my head. And you can practice as it gets faster and faster, but we start with the step by step. Otherwise, I'll always have a tendency to do chest breathing. I also do the standard lay on the floor, knees up, feet. I do that. I don't like to put a big weight on the lower belly, though. I like to use a candy dish, something that's light, and just see the bellies work. A lot of the old days, we'd put the big phone book on there. It's too much. It's too heavy. I don't want them to pooch. And that's the other thing. When you're relaxing the lower belly, you relax it. You don't stick it out. Yes?
Mouth or nose breathing?
Mouth. Mouth includes nose. When you breathe through your mouth, you will also be breathing through your nose. Classical teachers historically have taught to breathe through the nose, I believe for the wrong reason. Forgive me, but I'm going to tell you what I think. Because I have a bunch of people who come in with classical training who sniff their way through a song, never quite having enough air. The reason I think that it developed as such a go-to technique was that if you imagine you're breathing the scent of a beautiful rose, what does it do? It changes pulls up like what I call ick face, pulls up on the side of your nose. It raises the cheeks. It raises maybe the soft palate that lowers the voice box. It creates the classical setup. But you can't actually do that in a song. Now, if I'm waiting for an intro, I'm doing classical and I'm waiting. I'm timing my breathing through my nose. But once I start singing, you breathe through the mouth, and air will come in through the nose. So it was used as a classical setup. What I do is I just teach the ingredients to do a classical setup. so I can make a sound based on knowledge of what's doing what and how it feels, and then I just do it and it just works. There's fish face. I have different face shapes for different styles. So for classical, I might use fish face. If I want the real power, drama. But otherwise, I use the inside smile, the let's shake. But I know it has different ingredients, and they're not linked. They're not linked. I can lower my soft palate, raise it, lower the larynx, raise it. You can do different combinations. Once you know, kind of like cooking. You want to know how to fricassee and grill and broil and, just what your ingredients are. And then you can put them together in different fun ways to sound really like you've been doing it. You're nailing the style, I'll put it that way. Yes? Did I answer your question? Okay.
So when I sing, I expand the top and the bottom, but then
Well, I'm glad you mentioned this. When the lower belly sticks out, it tends to create problems with the high notes. So let me talk about that. I'm going to stick my lower belly out. It feels tight, a little tight in my throat, and the sound tends to be shrill. And in some people, the note actually high notes won't come out. But when you pull the lower belly in, the lower belly is more of, well, it's got two special traits. One is it's more of the blowing controller. It helps, for high notes, we need more air. In fact, I have a saying, and it is that the higher you go, the more you got to blow. So anyway, the lower belly puts more air in the sound. The upper belly, to me, is more of the pressure controller. And the higher you go, the more you got to blow. So the lower belly's other major trait is it's a high note helper. High note helper. So when I do, there's more air in the sound, it feels comfortable, and the sound projects better. So I was in Holland once, and this woman had been working so hard to master what I consider an inefficient support method, which is to stick the lower belly out. And before she even sang, I gave her a list of problems, and I said, does any of that sound familiar? She goes, that's all me. I said, well, I really appreciate how much you've been working on this, but try my way. And she tried, and this huge sound came out that she'd never actually heard before. So high note helper, and not just a high note, but any higher note. Anytime you're going for a higher note, just boost, I call it the lower belly boost. Just bring it in a little bit, and your neck won't grab. It really makes high notes easy. It makes you want to do high notes. Whether you're in chest voice or head voice, this is the mechanism that just makes it easy, and that's what we want. We don't want to worry about pain or tightness or stiff sound, like you know something's wrong. When you do it right, you know it's right, because it just feels good and it sounds good. Yes?
So I'm wondering, when you talk about taking the breath and then filling, and then as if you feel it sort of up to the top of your head, when you're saying that, so you take a breath and then you fill it up. I'm not exactly.
Well, because good point. The ribs are already expanded. See, the way I teach it is I don't teach that the ribs are going to do this. So I'm suspecting that when you're saying that, you're wondering, are my ribs going to expand when I take the breath? And the answer, in the way I teach it, is no. The ribs are already expanded. So when I fill up, it's not a big deal, because I always keep them expanded. If I'd collapse them, you're right, that would be a much bigger deal. But I'm already here. I don't want people to see the work. I don't want to see me doing this. So I just stand there. And I just did it. I just released, fill, glow, ready to go. It's minimizing the look of the work. It's like in ballet. You don't want anyone to see you sweat or you just want to make the hard look easy. So, and I find that keeping the ribs expanded, at the singer's ribs at least, makes it look like you're not doing anything. And I do teach breath noises. There's a whole, maybe 10, 12, 15 different, I haven't ever counted them, different noisy breaths that you can take for the effect. There's different kinds of, crying, laughing, but if it serves the story. But I always train silent to begin with, because it seems to be unnatural. Any other questions before I talk about registers, give you a little taste of registers, and then I think we have a break. Did you have one more question?
The
Oh, yeah, do you do any classical singing? Okay, then I'll explain it. Many classical teachers teach to breathe and expand the waist. You know, breathe and expand the waist, and then continue to push out for singing. The way I teach, that works great. That works great. But the way I teach breathing, I teach not breathing into the waist. I teach relaxing the lower belly. And it's because I teach so much of the other style. And this helps people too. It can help people in their classical singing. But in classical, sometimes people will keep that lower belly a little bit tucked. They don't let it go all the way. So that's fine too. But I just teach this generic method of relaxing the lower belly completely. And the reason is that for belting, we want to be able to have, and by that again, I just mean carrying a talky or a yelly sound up high, that the lower belly can move very quickly and kind of far. So if I go, hey, 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 I need that, what I call kaboom, boom. And if it's kind of already tucked, like in a classical mode, it doesn't have anywhere to go. Beep, 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 beep. So every time I take a breath, my belly's relaxed, and I don't build up residual abdominal tension. Yes?
Do you start your lessons with that shook?
I do often. It's a great warm-up. And it depends.
Like a couple minutes?
I have doing as much recently. I don't know why, but I did it for a lot, especially if they looked weak. They were weak at it, and it makes whatever exercise you do afterwards better. They just sing. They do all their exercises better.
And what about with like 8-year-olds?
Oh yeah, I do it. Eight-year-olds. I may not do all 5, but yeah, they like to touch. It's fun. They like anything with timing. You know, let's see if you can hold that S for 15 seconds. Oh, I can do it better. Let me try it again. You know, it's really, they like to test themselves. Yes.
So I've been singing now for probably 20 years, belting and music theater.
Yes.
Is it worth it to even try starting to learn classical? No.
Yes. It's beautiful.
Yes.
It's beautiful, and in a way that no matter what you do in any of the styles, there will be aspects of classical singing that will make you feel things that you won't. It's hard to describe. It's ethereal, angelic, spiritual. I had the most wonderful musical experience. And then, well, after the break, we'll get right into registers. But I just wanted to tell you, I love early music, pre-Baroque. And I found a program at Cambridge University in Cambridge, England. And I went this summer for a week and at one of these ancient colleges built in the 1500s. And it was very challenging, one on a part, all sight reading, nobody helping you, got to find your note. Nobody had perfect pitch. You just got to find your note, wait 14 bars, and then hopefully come in. And just such a fabulous musical experience that my soul craved to be there in this incredible setting, in this beautiful acoustics, and sing really challenging music. And if I were just a pop singer, a musical theater singer, I could never have that sublime. That's something, sublime is if I had to pick one word for good classical singing, there are a lot of people who they're not that good at it. They try. But if you can get really good at it, it can get chills like nothing else. But it's never too late. Yes?
I want to ask a question about strengthening the abdominal muscles in relationship to breathing, and I've heard both things, that singers should do a lot of sit-ups and have very strong abdominals, and also that that's dangerous because it becomes tight.
Excellent question. Did everyone hear her question? There's different thoughts on doing sit-ups to strengthen abdominal muscles. One set of thinking says you should do a lot of sit-ups to strengthen your muscles, and another set says you shouldn't do sit-ups because it can make the upper tight. And I lean more towards the second one. I've had too many students who come who are doing 1,000 to 2,000 sit-ups a day. It is Los Angeles, and they can't sing. They can't sing. Or weightlifters who, I used to be able to sing. I can't sing anymore. What's wrong with my voice? And it would take 45 minutes for them to learn how to relax their bellies. So there is a kind of sit-up that I think is very useful, and it only targets the lower belly. And it doesn't target the upper. It's based on a Pilates move where you, I don't want to lose my setup here, but normally I'd be on the floor and I'd show you. But anything, I think lower belly is fine. Upper belly, no, it tightens it, and we need it to be able to go out, soft and then out, not tight in. And I've had several people that had to say, you really got to cut it with the, yeah, you got a great six-pack, but you got to cut it with the, it's affecting your voice. So tighten your bellies, and you'll feel how the neck kind of grabs. It initiates the valve. The vocal cords are basically there to keep food out of our lungs. So it goes into squeezy valve mode. So soft bellies, soft but strong. But simply by doing the ship pattern a lot and really monitoring them when you sing, I never have to do another sit-up, really. You get quite strong without having to do sit-ups, simply by doing them for singing. One more question, then we take a break.
If somebody comes to you and is very tense and stuff, I would assume.
I would relax the chest.
You want to get them relaxing before you do these
Yes, definitely. We want to make sure the posture's right. We don't want to have them leaning back or leaning forward, though that's not usually the problem. It's usually they lean back, especially if they have a big tummy or a big chest. They lean back, and then they'll be tight. So the chest is important in that we want it to be floaty high, not overlifted, and not collapse. We have to double check that this is soft and this is soft. These are wide, but these are soft. That's not really normal. Usually when people expand their ribs, they tighten their bellies too. So always have to go back and make sure that the shoulders are soft and forward like an expensive wooden hanger. Too many people think posture is pulling the shoulders back, which will tighten the neck. So I really look at the posture before we do anything else. So we're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back and hit it with the big topic, which is registers, how to control them and not kill yourself, and have a good time.